Live again. Wow, I never thought I would say this, but I am so happy to be out of the 3420 transit. Or I guess technically that's the 2034 transit. I'm stoked to be out of that one. I realized that in a lot of ways, because I only have the 34, a lot of my melancholy actually hit when I have to compromise. And I think this is the only one that it actually happens on, but given the transit that we just went through with the 2034 channel being active of its own accord on the transit, there's a lot of melancholy that came up. A lot of melancholy that came up. And for anyone else that has the 3420 or just the hanging 34 or even just the hanging um, 20, I'd be really curious to know as well if you experienced a lot of melancholy this past transit. Like it literally just shifted. And so we're in a new transit. We're in gate 16, which is the gate of power skills. We're in the first line of it, which is delusion, which is daydreaming. It's the expression of talent through daydreaming. So I love that the sequence sometimes only appears when you are in it, and if you're looking at it from a preparation point of view, that you can't really see the magic of the sequence. But for me, having experienced like a week of sort of empowerment, but also melancholy in the empowerment, or in a way, not necessarily knowing what things to work on. Now that Gate 16 is active, um, I'm just waking up with a new sort of daydreamy concept of what life could be like. For those of you that are curious about it as well, um, I experienced quite a bit of melancholy, which is this like going from hope to despair and back and forth over the past 5.5 days or so. The human design transit that we were currently or that we were experiencing then was a very unique one. Oftentimes in the transits, you have uh, the sun activating one gate and the earth activating another gate in another center. But this time we had the sun activating, and I will give you guys a reference here. We had the sun activating gate 20, which is up here in the throat. There it is, gate 20. And then we had the earth activating gate 34. I have gate 34. So this was like a compromised transit for me. And it always is a compromised transit for me because your body graph never changes, even though the uh, the uh, the transit will change and your composite with others and your pentas will change. Your body graph never changes. And so all of these shifting lights and shifting dynamics and weather patterns are great opportunities for me to get to know who I am and how well I know myself and how well I can command my things like my emotions and my mind and my physical body based off of the changing of the seasons. And so Angel, I have 34 as well. Okay, so then let's have a conversation, you and me. Were you experiencing any melancholy during this transit? Deja Revi, you had 34 as well. Let me know. Did you experience any melancholy? Or what was like the past 5 days like? If you were to look back. Okay, so I got an absolutely here. Let's see what else. I'm starting to we're just collectively, and this is one of the reasons why, of course, we're attracted to each other, or we're gonna find each other, is because yes, we're attracted to people that have things that we don't, but then we're also attracted to people that have similar experiences. Attraction is not just a one-way thing. Uh, in a way, one of the reasons why I'm seeing, or I'm sort of like writing the story in my head, like, why was I experiencing so much melancholy? Number one, it's because of the compromise that happens during a transit like this. So if you have gate 34, the full channel kind of forces you into a compromise. It's like, oh, wow, I don't always have this manifestation of power. I don't always have the knowing or the perspective on the view. And having that view, like, I'm not designed to always have that view. With the transit always having that view, yeah, it kind of had me on a roller coaster. Some other things about that is that gate 54 and gate 10 are undefined. And so when it comes to, or sorry, 57 and 10 are also undefined in my chart. And so when there was this like, where's my intuition, what behaviors, what to work on, it's just like this pure pillar of empowerment. And I didn't necessarily feel super embodied in it. And I also didn't necessarily feel like it was giving me a direction. And anyway, so yeah, So what about nothing being no thing? There is no separations between things. So there is no thing. This nothing is one thing slash everything. Right. Well, it's like the body, how the body is differentiated into like, the bicep does this and then the tricep does that. But holistically speaking, the bicep is also connected to the hamstring. And so I kind of get where you're going with it. Like it is all one, but there are differentiated parts. And the beauty I think of life is to be able to maintain a connection to wholeness and like the entire thing while recognizing that certain parts are more heavily trained or strained, more heavily utilized and valued or ignored or easier to overlook than others. And so, anyway, welcome to the live, guys. Coming in pretty hot. I mean, defined throat. What are we talking about here, Aaron? You see, I can't speak easily without an open throat around or without a defined throat around. I get that. And the more that I learn about human design, the more I realize like if we are to treat our lives and our ability to manifest the same way that we would treat baking. Like if you're missing an ingredient, the cake is not going to turn out the way that you want it to. And so, and this is why I love human design, because it's like the more I like dive into it and the deeper layers I dive into it as well, the more I'm looking at, again, with nature, there's a formula. Like if you have sunlight but no rain, your plant dies. If you have rain but no sunlight, your plant dies. And so, anyway, there's just a lot of ingredients that I'm realizing that I don't have constant access to that I'm wanting more in my life. Starlight, have you ever worked or studied Mayan astrology as well? Somewhat, yes. Yes and no. Like not very deeply, but I'm familiar with it, but not familiar enough to study it. There's just so many esoteric systems and different astrologies. But the one thing that I take from it is that like with Mayan astrology, one thing that's really cool is in terms of the Mayan calendar, the way that the wheel works is it's similar to the way that like gears in a transmission or a car will work. And there's certain shiftings and then there's greater shiftings that happen. And I see that a lot within astrology, Vedic astrology, rave astrology, or the rave mandala, human design, neutrinos, etc. And it's just that's a really cool thing. It's like cells that work together to form tissues, that work together to form organs, that work together to form systems, that work together to form the body. And then human beings that work together or work against each other to form tribes, which either work together to form collectives or work against each other to form collectives. It's really interesting. So is it normal that nothing is happening? I am attracting no thing with an enveloping aura. I'm not sure, my friend. That's a really great question. Like if you isolate yourself, I would imagine that the things that you would be attracting to yourself would be much more subtle because, and I also don't believe necessarily in one of the kind of like human design fundamentals. I'm a 3-5 reflector, so heretic over here. I don't believe that your aura only does one thing. I believe that when it's healthy, it does something, but when it's not healthy, and what I mean by health, I mean that your organs, your physical organs are in a synergistic relationship with each other. Most of the time, people's auras are not working properly because their organs are like busy fighting each other and they're fighting for space in the body because they haven't necessarily matured or like grown into their spaces or learned how to push up against each other without being like, oh, you're in my space, I'm in your space, you're in my space, like I'm better at handling this situation. Like this is where the mind gets into a lot of like battles with itself. But I would say that it's like if nothing is happening and your organs are healthy, that is what is supposed to be happening for you. I would also say that a lot of people confuse peace with boredom. So consider that maybe you're finally feeling peace and you're like worried about it. On my way to water my plants, let's go. Good afternoon, golden afternoon, Reikimarco. It's a pleasure to be in space. What's up, Anita? Welcome, welcome. So how do you do that? So a great question. How do you get your organs to balance with each other? Well, you push them against each other. It's like you take your hands. How do you find center? You just take left and right and you push together. And what that's going to do is it's going to expose some weaknesses in your shoulders because the way that you generate force inward like this is by generating force on your shoulders inward like that. And while you're doing that, you can also lock your rib cage down, and instead of expanding your lungs outward, expand your lungs inward and hug your heart. So you can do that. Push your hands together, push your shoulder blades together, and then breathe in and compress your heart with your lungs. I don't feel peace. Like this, yeah, that's the point that I'm talking about, is like, if you're saying like nothing is happening to me, it sounds like you're saying you're bored. And what I'm telling you is that most people's nervous systems have been so conditioned to TikTok style stimulus that your nervous system will confuse peace with boredom. Like you'll think you're bored, but what's actually happening is you're experiencing peace. And most people have no examples of what true peace looks like. I mean, they have examples of like, Buddha meditating on the top of a hill, but in their own life, to have people that you're around that make you like genuinely bring peace into your life, if you can't sort of in a way sample that and find your own way to the peace, then you're always going to need someone else to experience something. And it's not that that's a bad thing, but it's recognizing that when you are in your own space, what does come up, which may be even a better question for you. Cisse, 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 am I saying that right? I don't know. But anyway, I repeated a post that you put on fate. Can you speak more on fate and destiny as it relates to your post in the past week? I literally can on IG watch it again and again. You're live. Oh yeah, Anita, welcome. So that was a fun question. That was a fun topic because I was talking about the term weird because I use creator search insights. Don't think you can say my name. I mean, I will still attempt. Um, but I was talking about, I made this video about how healing is weird. I use the creator search insights to find like trending topics that people are talking about. And healing is weird was one of them. But a lot of the times, these hot topics that get talked about, they get trivialized, they get popified, they get new ageified, because the word weird actually means like fate or destiny. And it also is the same as like looking at like a small orchard with just like little saplings and be like, oh yeah, that's a weird place over there. The original meaning, which is not the true meaning, it's just the original meaning, okay? The original meaning of the word weird was like fate or destiny. And so if I were to say the orchard over there is weird, or the teenage boy over there is weird, it didn't mean that he's like, how you say there's something wrong with him, which is what a lot of people use that term weird for. What it means is that it's becoming something. The orchard is not yet bearing fruit, but that's what it's becoming. The teenage boy is not yet a man, but that's what he's becoming. And so healing is weird is a great concept because most people look at it as like, oh, healing is weird in terms of like, oh, now you're carrying sage around and that's just odd. But the reality is healing is weird. Healing is literally a process. And be really mindful as well about the term like fate and destiny because there's so much future orientation regarding fate and destiny, but there's very little past orientation. And if you look at a lot of the destinies that we celebrate, King Arthur, Harry Potter, it actually has more to do with the past than what they're destined to do. It has to do with the way that they're set up. And when you look at human design, and I was talking to my friend Tressa, Human Design Hypnotherapy, great account, follow her, she's wonderful. And she was talking to me about her obsession with the incarnation crosses, which I never got into as much. But she was talking about how the incarnation crosses take into account your personality sun and earth and your design sun and earth. Those are the top two left, you say, four most important placements in your body graph. Which, if you don't have a body graph, by the way, I have them on my website and they're for free. But I also have reports which are on sale. They're normally $35 or $20 if you want to pick one of those up. I have a whole like 101 how to read the body graph in there. But anyway, I digress. The incarnation crosses are really showing us like where the future and the present are going to meet. Or sorry, where the future and the past are going to meet, which is of course us. And so regarding the incarnation cross, it's half design, which is what we're inheriting, and then half present or half mind, which is where we are. That's what we need. We need to know where we've been and where we're at in order to calculate a trajectory. Because it's quite simple. It's like if you come from here and now you're here, where are you going to go? That way. If you come from over here and you're now here, where are you going to go? Like you draw a line from your past through your present to see where you're going to go future orienting wise. Now, that doesn't mean that you're forced to go that way, because what you can do is you can change your place in the present in order to, it's like firing a bow and arrow, right? Where's the arrow going to go? That way. If I go like this, where's it going to go? That way. What I'm doing, I'm not changing the pullback, I'm changing the present moment and what I'm focusing on. And so attention and authority are so important. And that's why human design is such a brilliant system, because it gives you a simple strategy and a simple authority to follow so that you can discover, oh, I'm out of line with my authority. I'm out of line with my aura. And then to take it a layer deeper, what we're doing in the archive is giving people an opportunity to discover how to actually gauge how healthy their body is through sensation, not necessarily through numbers or metrics. Not to say that medical diagnosis and all that stuff is bullshit, just to say, hey, there's another layer of, like, doctors say you're never going to walk again, but then someone says, nope, I'm going to walk again, and they create the motivation and the ability, and then they end up walking again. So does that mean the entire medical system is wrong? No, it just means that there's another layer here, human willpower, human intention, that actually has a lot more to do with our healing and our destiny and our fate than other people want to or how you say, recognize. And it's because you can't put the metric on it. I can't put a marker on you and be like, oh yeah, this person has this much willpower. But I can watch you for a handful of years and see how many of the things that you endeavor to make happen actually happen, and how many things don't, which is the difference between people that just talk and people that don't, that talk and make it happen, or people that don't talk and just make it happen. So Ogana, what's up? What a cool name. I just early today looked into the combined graph with my husband and found out we are 8 and 1. Could you please talk about that? Absolutely. So this is also for, because you're one of my archive people. If you feel like you want to post that in the archive and maybe ask some questions, again, just know it's a public space, but it's really about the it's really about being able to help you guys with this kind of stuff. So I would love to see that body graph. I can also talk about it here on live if you want to post it and ask some questions. Which, a disclaimer, these lives are always recorded. They're always on YouTube for anyone that wants to re-reference that, or again, be mindful about the, give me fake names or something if you're sensitive about the information. But anyway, let's go ahead and talk about it. So 8 and 1, what you're talking about is a relationship dynamic, and the stronger the first number, or the higher the first number, like for instance, the pinnacle, not that this is the best, but the highest that number can be 9 and 0. That means all 9 centers are defined. 8 and 1 is actually the composite that me and my partner have, which is 8 centers defined, 1 center undefined, 1 centered white. What's beautiful about this relationship dynamic, at least to me, is it sort of like reveals how strong the relationship as an entity within itself is. Because when you're looking at a composite, you're not necessarily looking at 2 people, you're actually looking at 3 beings. You're looking at you, your partner, and then the aura, or the thing that forms, the composite that is formed out of the commingling of your guys' aura, especially when you're mingling physical fluids and emotions and futures as well. You're forming another being. And so when you're relating with this being, the higher that first number is again, the more structure that being is going to inherently, or the more definition, in terms of, like, for instance, if you had a relationship where it was like 6 and 3, like my partner Pasha, I can't put too many definitions on our relationship. Otherwise, I am sort of, this thing is white, but I want to paint, I'm just going to paint it red, like the Queen of Hearts. You know what I mean? Paint the roses red, but it's actually a white rose. So it's the goal, of course, is to learn how to accept the white rose and watch that part of yourself that wants to paint it red, and how you say, mediate that. And so, like for instance, my relationship with my partner is 8 and 1. We have an undefined solar plexus, and so when it comes to processing our emotions, or in terms of like seeking truth, or nervousness, or not feeling good enough, a lot of that stuff comes from the outside world. Now, when it comes to what our goals are, what we want for our tribe, what we have physical energy for, the way that we handle stress, the way that we handle inspiration, that is pretty defined. And if you look closely, and again, because this is just a theme, right? So you could have a theme of a story, like the theme of Star Wars is like good versus evil. but there's also a love story. There's also a political drama. There's also all these other things. And so, without being able to see the actual composite and just look at the theme, essentially what you're looking at is a pretty defined relationship. Like the relationship wants to have these sort of channels and rivers in specific places, and then there's going to be one area where that's a good place for you guys to explore. And again, for me in my relationship, it's the solar plexus. And so there are times when it's like, there's events going on outside in the world that we sort of want to participate in, but not really. There's relationships that we want to build, but we don't really have the energy to put into those relationships. And so we sort of let those things happen. The undefined centers are really a lot of times where you're going to like wait and see what happens, whereas the defined centers, you're going to either make it happen there or go find a place that it can happen. So thank you. The angels gave me that name. I love how you explain it. It's a whole other world. These combined charts are keep learning. Yes. Ogana, let's go. And also, like I said, if you're in the archive, like post your chart, ask your questions. I feel like there's people that are wanting to, how you say, in the archive that want to learn more, but you're also not asking questions. So if you ask questions, if you post your body graphs, hey, what do you guys, let me get some feedback on this. We got quite a few badasses in the archive that are excited to riff about this kind of stuff. Joy, I posted my composite in the archive. Do you want me to go look at it? I'll go look at it. I'll go look at it. By the way, wide valleys, it's like valley. You're in a valley. Like I'm in a valley, mountain over there or hill over there, hill over there. The river is where it runs through. Valley people do very well when they're sitting on the floor, do very well when they're, oh my God, Joy, what is going on with this composite here? Wait, is that my body graph? Wait, is this our body graphs together? I was like, I recognize the chart. I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, and there's my baby girl crying. Anyway, back to valleys. I'm a valley person. Very important for me to be in the know. Like I really enjoy being able to like sit in the river, metaphorically and physically, and be able to have all of the information come by me. So things upstream, things up the hill and up the mountain, because then I can help to project where things are going to go. Also, valleys, again, it's very like floor sitting type person. My room is also a valley, or my bus, because I have a door there and I have a door there. So the energy is able to flow. So with valleys, it's like you're wanting to create, you're wanting to be in environments where the energy flows, as opposed to like a shore where the energies kind of like clash up against each other. The valley is about there's the entrance and there's the exit. So anyway. Oh wait, this is your husband. This isn't me. I'm like, Marco, read the text. Brushing up on lessons from the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you guys have a 5 and 4 theme. Which is again not to say that you're no, sorry. You have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 2 theme. A lot of electromagnetics, which are not always points of chemistry. Sometimes those can be points of contention. But it looks like you guys are compromised on the 50-27 and the 28-38. So in that sense, is you, Joy, are going to be compromising your partner, meaning that like he might be very sensitive about not having enough energy to take care of you or himself. He also might be sensitive around not knowing what risks to take. So basically, don't punish him for the risks that he takes that are wrong in hindsight, and definitely don't punish him for not knowing how to take care of himself. And by punish, I'm talking about like the subtleties as well, because this is one of the things, like you can get rid of like the objective or the gross kind of punishment of like the verbal shaming and everything, but energetically watching that part of yourself, because that's part of yourself that like wants another being to be the same as you. And that's kind of the opposite of what human design is helping us to do, which is recognize, oh, you're different than me, and I can appreciate that rather than being so insecure that I'm going to need you to be the same. She goes, yeah, we've had to learn how to compromise and allow failure for growth. Yeah, because that's the channel of caring, and then also the channel of struggle, right? And so it's like, something for you in the sense that it's like struggle might be a natural part of your experience in your life that's not so for your partner. Caring might not be a huge part of their life as well, and so they're going to make efforts to meet you in those spaces. And it's not like I'm saying, don't let them meet you, but make sure that you help them lower the bar for themselves so that they're not focused on becoming who you are or who you're trying to become as a result of sacrificing becoming who they are actually supposed to become, right? Because we're all weird. We're all weird. We're all here to become something more than what we are. And we're also here to encourage each other to become something different. So it's like an apple tree and an orange tree growing next to each other can be healthy, but not if the apple tree is trying to be an orange tree and the orange tree is trying to be an apple tree. Bro, I'm gonna make an EP with my buddy. Could you check out our composite? Totally, dude. Yeah. Bro, I'm Mountain. I told you we are like Goku and Vegeta, Naruto and Sasuke. Yeah, yeah. So, okay, Anita, here we go. Sorry, guys, I haven't been checking the Instagram feed. I'm a 6'3" man, Gen Sacral Authority split definition. This journey is interesting. 44 years young and enjoying this ride. Yes, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So, Garrett, just post it in the archive, man. Post it in the archive, write some context, because again, it's like the archive is so much more than just me. As I said, it's not a place to be taught things, it's a place to learn. And so I'd love to see if anyone else has any insights on it. um, Again, it's really helpful, especially because 90% of aura types are here to wait, or 90% of body graphs in general are waiters. Their mode is to wait. If you ask questions, if you're curious about something, you be the one to initiate. It's not going to violate your your strategy and authority, especially because the archive itself is a place that invites, hey, what are the questions you have about body graphs? What are the questions you have about your body? The archive is a place where you can bring those questions, and instead of just getting answers and this is how to do it, it's like these are the explorations. So the link for the archive is going to be in my bio, or if you can go to reikimarco.com or join.thearchive.life will also take you to the archive. It's a $37 a month membership, or $333 for the entire year. And just to like share what it's about, basically we're putting the physical workouts that are missing from human design into human design, because this is a system that's supposed to help you surrender to your form. However, there's no workouts. And so it's literally just the workouts that are missing from the human design system. We still use human design, and there are also a lot of, how you say, variations or mutations that are taking form in this community as well. So, wow, yeah, exactly. Got you, Joy. Gotcha. Also, like I said, my sessions, my one-on-ones, and also my reports are on sale today because it's Memorial Day. If anyone wants to get a report for their friend or get a report for themselves, or you've been wanting to book a session, but I'm kind of pricey, so I'm less pricey now, at least for today. And also, again, I do my best to just try and share this knowledge because of how helpful it is in seeing yourself. But seeing yourself is not the same as accepting yourself. And so one of the primary and one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about the archive, which that's this shirt right here is the logo for the archive. I'm so passionate about the archive because it helps us to feel what we see. Because it's not enough just to see it. You have to actually feel it. That's where true surrender comes in. Because then once you start to feel it and you can see it, then you can actually start to learn to trust and surrender to it. And the idea is that instead of trying to change the outside world, right, what you do is you shift your vibration internally, which has to do with what type of environments and people you put yourself around. But more so, you have to learn how to navigate based off of what we call internal authority, based off of what we call a sensory sense of self rather than a conceptual sense of self. Doesn't mean who you think you are is wrong, but if who you think you are can't actually be held by your body, one of those things need to change. And a lot of the times what people will do is they'll change their body so that it can hold who they think they are, rather than asking their body, who am I actually? And then adjusting the mind to fit who the body is. And this is something that a lot of people are exercising a sort of sideways level of control over their body because they can't accept the body. They can't work with the card and hand that they're dealt, so they flip the whole table over. Hi, Megan. So is this the opposite of cave people? So the opposite of caves, I'm pretty sure, is mountains. Mountains is going to be, elevated, bird's eye view, thinner oxygen, more exposure. Cave is literally cave, low ceiling, lower light, cooler environment, one entrance, one exit. At the top of the mountain, you can be approached from any angle. Sometimes depends on the mountain, but at a cave, it's one entrance, one exit. Can you give an example of accepting and adjusting the body? Right. Okay. So, like, let's say you are somebody with a defined head and ajna. Okay. Let's say you have these centers defined, but your physical body is not necessarily able to handle all of the thinking. Let's say you have a lot of anxiety. Well, according to your body graph, yeah, you put a lot of there's naturally going to be a lot of energy and emphasis in how do I think? Am I certain? And am I inspired? Or what problems do I need to solve? So the idea here is that instead of sort of trying to like dampen the amount of thinking to avoid situations that give you anxiety, the goal is to strengthen the body, because the body's the role of the mind, and the role specifically of the face is to be able to bring information into your body. And so when I was talking about that, can you give an example of accepting and adjusting from the body? It's like if you accept that, okay, my body is not very good at handling stimulus. Once you accept that, one of the things that you can do is say, okay, I want the body to be better at handling stimulus. And what I was talking about there is, like, for instance, somebody, how you say, exercising control, like a forceful control over the body, would be like, oh, I'm not blonde, so I'm going to dye my hair blonde. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. But it's like, are you dyeing your hair blonde as a means of avoiding an insecurity that you have around being a brunette? Those kinds of things. But when we talk about like strengthening the body, is again, the body is designed to do certain types of things, deal with anxiety, deal with intensity and heat. And instead of actually dealing with those things, a lot of the times we will change the body or try and like change things so that we don't have to deal with it. And that's particularly going to be aspects of the mind. And so like anxiety is a big one. And Cece, if that's not relevant to you, let me know something that is relevant. Emotions or fear is another one. Those are the three awareness centers. Those are usually one of those, or two of those are usually going to be like big hitters. But out of those three, let me know what do you feel like is more detrimental in your life or more challenging in your life, dealing with fear, dealing with anxiety, or dealing with your emotions? Because I'd love to talk about that. Yeah, caves is my not self. I'm a passive mountain guy. Yeah. And also too, it's like not self isn't a bad guy. Not self is like the barometer. Not self is the part of you that can bring you into alignment. So trouble with travel and sleeping and grounding in new areas. Okay, so root. We could talk about root stuff, knowing when to move forward, knowing when to be able to rest. That's also spleen stuff, like knowing how to assess if a place is safe to even fall asleep. Um, and so one of the ways that you can strengthen your body in that way, strengthen your ability to sleep, to feel relaxed, is by actually doing the opposite. And so intentionally inducing situations that are upregulating for your nervous system so that your nervous system can downregulate. So one of the examples is if you take your fingers, you plug your nose, and you try and suck in, and you do that up until the point where you start to panic, where you're like, oh, I need air, I need air. Because what's happening is like your body is trying to get air, but it can't get air. But you're the thing that's stopping yourself from getting air. So what you do is you give yourself an opportunity to spend time in that panic. And this is also give you something for traveling, something that I do in traveling a lot. But then you spend like 4 or 5 seconds just in the panic, and you soothe yourself. One of the things you can do to soothe yourself is just like stroke your neck right here, even just stroking the side of the face or behind the ear on the sides of the neck, back of the neck, front of the neck, creating this vacuum, trying to pull in air, and spend a little bit of time in the panic and tell yourself, I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm the one that's doing this to myself. I'm strengthening myself. And then eventually let go, close your eyes, bring your heart rate back down, regulate your nervous system. Again, that's what I mean by a lot of people are not choosing to regulate their nervous system. Most people are looking for environments and places, ideas, social media accounts, distractions from the fact that, oh, their nervous system is dysregulated. So one of my favorite travel hacks also, and I made a video about this. I think it might have been the Fate video. But when it comes to grounding, a lot of people think about, again, driving energy down. But even this exercise, what I'm telling you is we're pulling the energy up. So if you pull the energy up, it's naturally going to want to go down. Same thing as if you drive the energy down, it's naturally going to want to go up. And so one of the things about life is that, and bodies, is that we're multidimensional. There's all these X's and crosses in our bodies. So one of the ways that you can ground, especially when you're walking, is if you take the inside, like the pinky palm right here, the pinky part of your palm, put it on your knee, both of them, and then you're going to push your knees apart while you attempt to squeeze your knees together. Then you're going to take your feet and drive your feet apart. So you're going to push, give your knees something to fight against, and then you're going to drive your feet apart. And this is going to help you ground down by teaching you how to ground inward. Same thing with the heart, like feeling safe. Um, Feeling grounded a lot of the times has to do with like your organs are just bouncing around inside your body. So another thing you can do is pin your elbows or your arms to your rib cage. Don't let your ribs expand when you breathe in. Let your heart, let your lungs expand into your heart, and then when you exhale, see if you can keep that pressure up. Same thing with this. Hold it to the point. Breathe in, compress the heart. Swallowing is just also super helpful for the body. Exhale, but don't lose all the pressure. And just do that to the point. See how long you can hold that before you start to panic or your body starts to get upregulated. Once it starts to upregulate, tell yourself, okay, we're going to be here for 4, 3, 2, 1. Slowly release the pressure. Don't just dump it. That's the thing. We are taught that if something is uncomfortable, if something doesn't feel good, etc., to just run away from it or fight it or like side with it. Fight, fawn, flight, or freeze, um, or freeze. Instead of doing that, just like entertain, like watch it, because you're not the body. You're also not the mind. You're something in between, and this is what human design kind of reveals to us. So I love how you've made this connection with transmuting pain and resistance into strength. I didn't even make the connection. I just like I realized it sort of in a way. I realized that there's two types of people. There's people that run away from challenge. There's people that run away from a discomfort, and these are the people that they're always running away from something. They're never running towards anything. It's like another way to view this is like there's the gazelle that runs away to not be dinner, and then there's the lion that chases the gazelle because it needs to get dinner. And so it's like, are you running away just as a point of survival, or are you chasing something and running as a point of like feeding your family or providing something for the world? And I think that whether you're a man or a woman, you do have something to provide to the world, whether it's family or a business or art or whatever it is. But if you're constantly running away from things that are challenging, like that's quite literally the thing. Challenges are quite literally the thing that are celebrated. Like we oftentimes as well only see the end result. We only see the band once they've blown up. We only see the artist after their struggle. And so when your struggle shows up, recognize that this is the struggle that's here to, at some point, doesn't have to be now, but at some point, this is the struggle that once was so crushing to me, but now is something that has made me strong. Like it's the villain that makes a hero a hero. Anyway, this is a beautiful thing you and Pasha have been doing. Thanks, Anita. Appreciate you. Yeah, and it's Bosch is one of my best friends, and he is like such a genius in a lot of ways, and also just a man, just like I'm also just a man. And so there's so many ways that I've had to subject myself to his counsel and what he sees, only to discover like something inside me where it's just like, oh, it's just like a conflict that I'm not paying attention to. And a lot of this stuff as well is it's like there's all these systems in the body that take opposing forces and they turn them into forward momentum. Like for instance, when your legs are crossing each other, which means that at some point in your step, your legs are doing the opposite, but because your body is able to rotate and there are these spirals, you're able to move forward. And these are just like, again, fundamental patterns within nature, within the human body that are, if we look at them and instead of trying to reverse engineer fitness, we just look at what the human body does and how it differs from other life forms, we can very clearly start to see why our minds are so developed. And then you look at the industrial age and smartphones and you get to see, oh, it's the postures that have created all of these dysfunctions, mental illnesses, societal illnesses. It's the postures because we don't walk, run, and hunt our food anymore. Yes, of course, there's going to be so much sickness, but also it's like that's where we're at. So how it's not how do we go back to the Stone Age? It's how do we go from where we're at to where we were intended to be? That's going to create something new. And so we are creating something that the world has never seen before, which is really beautiful. So let's see. I bought the chart. So Princess Martinez, if you bought it, I will look at this for you real quick. There's a chance that it didn't even get through our system. It might have just been denied. But if any issues arise, and I'll have a look at it as well. But just send an email to support@reikimarco.com. That's my support email, and I will definitely help you out with that. 'Cause I do not want anyone to buy a report and not get their report. But thanks for letting me know also. And I can see, I'm going to look on my end real quick too. Martinez, I'm going to look at Devin Martinez. Is that you? Got it. Yep. Okay, I see you. Got you, my friend. I'm going to email you Diskind right now. You're welcome. Thanks for letting me know. Sometimes that happens. Thank you for your patience as well. So with that being said, anyone else got any more questions about anything at all? I like I love the internet so much, obviously. Um, and it's funny because a lot of spiritual people don't like the internet. They think it's a source of evil, and it 100% is, but it's just like everything is just a tool. Like if you're a good person, the internet makes you an even better person. If you're a bad person, the internet makes you an even worse person. The problem is that a lot of the times, most of the people that are good just want to be left alone, while a lot of the bad people, and I know I'm using like morally like diluted terms, but they want others to they want to control others and they want to do all this stuff. And so there's a quote that I really like that says, for evil to succeed, it needs good men to do nothing and good women to do nothing. And that's something that I've recognized is, in terms of the line between what is good and what is evil, there's a lot of debate to be had there. But again, a lot of the actually good people won't necessarily show up to debate because most of the time they just want to be left the fuck alone, myself included. So when I had a daughter, this is what made me realize like, oh, I have to start participating in this conversation and sharing things with people, because if I don't, I see myself as good. I watch my impact, and one of the ways that I will define good as well is like I don't impact people in a negative way. I'm not taking away from people. I'm not scamming people. I'm not hurting people with my words, with my actions, what I sell, etc. Also in terms of the land, like I do my best to put it back into the land. Like I plant trees. I work on agroforestry projects. Like and I would think anyone in general, if you watched me for a year and a half, there's like an objective goodness that you might see in me. And I'm also open to being wrong. I was thinking about that the other day, especially because the whole Aubrey Marcus thing, which that's such a hot topic. But with the whole Aubrey Marcus thing, anytime I see like a spiritual influencer get like canceled, so to speak, it makes me consider like I run an audit on myself. I'm like, all right, is there any spiritual narcissism in my world? And if there is, again, it's not like how can I destroy that thing? It's literally how can I look at it? How can I learn from it? Because again, if there's some kind of evil that's forming inside of me, or not self energy that's forming inside of me, to go back to Garrett's request to talk about the not self stuff. Again, if you feel resistance, if you feel something uncomfortable, if you feel evil, the tendency is to destroy it before it becomes too great. But the reality is if you can watch evil, comprehend it, understand it, because evil again is just it's just the other end of the spectrum. It's like just like the left hand that's different than the right hand. And so the right hand tries to destroy the left hand or dominate the left hand so that it becomes more like the right hand. And that's a really great example is like, right hand is your signature, useful in society. Left hand is your not self. Not necessarily useful in society. Doesn't feel good. But it doesn't mean that this is useless. It just doesn't necessarily have a utility that is like widely celebrated or that is quote unquote healthy. Like a lot of people don't actually wake up to their impact until they are really, how you say, at the mercy of their health being. Let's say, a healthy man has 1,000 problems. The unhealthy man has one problem, the fact that he's not healthy. And so a lot of the times when your health is compromised, when the people in your life betray you, or it seems as though they would betray you, but really you've betrayed yourself and now it's just echoing out into your community, those are times when it's like it forces you to take a look at yourself. It's tricky to work within the system without becoming it. Right. And it's also impossible to, how you say, like if you look at the Matrix, is like it's sort of impossible to, how you say, work within the system without being a part of the system or a part of the problem. And because it's like from the machine's perspective, we're the problem. I'm using Matrix terms now. That's because that's where that took me, CC. So, do you have the right angle cross of the Sphinx? No, I'm the cross of rulership, which I was talking to my friend earlier and was talking about education, and that education is so important to me, like a good ruler. And I'm also the listener end of um, rulership. So for me, really, it's like what things are worth listening to. I'm also very sensitive about not being listened to, and I've recognized that my incarnation cross has helped me and guided me away from people that don't listen to me. And it's not because I got some ego about I know what's going to happen. It's because I have a literal track record of predicting things many months, sometimes years down the pipeline. Richard Rudd's work with Love the Venus sequence is a supportive way to contemplate the sacredness of relationships, all of them. Richard Rudd, and again, like there's so many branches of human design now. Like Gene Keys is was a student of Ra's. How you say the Jovian archive is like there's an instance of the voice giving this information to Ra, and then Ra ran with it, and then other people took it and ran with it, and we in our own way with sensory design in the archive have our own branch of human design, and they're all attached to the same trunk, which is like this is a system that is ultimately designed to free humanity, but not all people are going to hear the message of the Jovian archive or Gene Keys or even sensory design. And so for those of you that are here in this live and connected to me, the reason you're connected to me is because your path through of awakening and surrendering to the form and enlightenment, whatever you want to call it, your path of transformation is through the body. It's through the warrior archetype. It's not through the mystic or through the lover, maybe through the lover. It's not through any of those other archetypes other than the warrior, because Pasha and I are warriors. Our perspective on human design is warrior. My name is Marco, which is an extension of Mars, planet of war. And so, and rulership and sleeping phoenix. So there's a lot of, you know, I don't want to call it yeah, it's warfare. It's like if you're over influencers telling to you to be at peace with your anxiety and with your fears and with your emotions, and then you want to go to war with them in a good way, like a good respectful war, like a respectful conflict. That's what we're here to do. I don't know if that made any sense to anybody, but anyway, healing our internal self so we have a safe internal space and we can operate from within the matrix. Yes. Having that actual sense of self so that you can discern when you're in the matrix and when you're in your body. And the reality is you can do both. You have to train yourself though, and it's very challenging because whenever you're in the matrix, and by the way, when I mean in the matrix, I'll be clear about my definitions. The matrix is everywhere, but it's heaviest in and most oppressive when you're in cities and when you're involved with systems that make use of external authorities. So, for instance, like the music industry is a heavy matrix. Why? It's because you're going to compare yourself to Taylor Swift and all the other faces. The medical system is a heavy matrix. Why? Because there is all this system and knowledge of academia that supports this. The government is a very heavy matrix system. The cities themselves and the infrastructure, anywhere that there's infrastructure that's built by man, it's man's matrix. And so the goal is not to dismantle that matrix. My thought is the goal is to incept that matrix, because that infrastructure was built to support a certain type of human being. And if we can raise the standard on what that type of human being is, the infrastructure will have to shift. Sometimes I surprise myself by the things that I say, but here we are. Anyway, I love Richard Rudd and how poetic and artful he is with his wisdom, his grace. You, Marco, I see as a muse. You touch people with your aura and spirit without touching them. Your mere presence is enough to heal and elevate others. Really thankful I found you, brother. Yes, I just want my people. I just want my people to be free. Like I just want my people to be free. I was a blessed enough to be born into a family that they put me in martial arts really early. I was raised Roman Catholic, and so I don't necessarily know if that was a good or a bad thing, but I've made it out in my head to be like, look, all religions have elements of good and elements of bad again. But I have a sense of morality that, I know that I'm not just accountable to myself and my own actions. And at the same time, I've developed a sense of self that I can really feel when my body is like out of alignment, when I'm too caught up in the matrix of it. Like definitely this past transit, this 2034 brought me into the matrix. And it was one of the things I noticed. I was like going to make a TikTok video and I started saying something and I was like, what am I doing? What is that? Like, so it's the thing is it caused me to question myself, not in the form of like I don't think I'm good enough, but if I'm actually making the impact that I want to make, or if I'm just like talking for the sake of talking. So I was on Maui for 10 years and was called back to the East Coast last summer. Why would this happen? Would there be a purpose to bring codes from Maui to the East Coast? 100%. 100%. Like I will occasionally and have on occasion gone back to the mainland into the matrix to like do good work. And there are still more natural matrices than man-made or synthetic matrices out there. However, that is shifting rapidly. What I want to say to you, Valerie, is that the thing that you think you're bringing is not nearly as important as the thing that you're actually bringing. And the reason I say that in that way is that, there's this sort of, and this is where spiritual narcissism comes in, because human beings did not spend generations upon generations developing nervous systems so that we could talk to hundreds of thousands of people and give advice to hundreds of thousands of people. This is why I'm happy. And like people are like, oh, I literally get these kinds of emails all the time. Wow, Marco, your page is so incredible and I love it, but you should be getting seen by more people. I'm like, bro, I don't have the nervous system to deal with more people. I'm fine with like 30 people in a live because my nervous system can actually handle that. when I'm going to have thousands, if that ever gets to the point, it's going to be because hopefully my nervous system will be able to tend to that. And it's great because sometimes I feel even with a handful of people that it's like, oh, I'm stretching my nervous system. But again, what are you actually bringing back? What actually called you there? Because there's this tendency to romanticize what it is that you're bringing back, but sometimes it's like you bring back unprocessed grief so that you can, rather than bringing beautiful loving codes from Maui, that you realize that, oh, I don't necessarily how you say, need to be bringing back anything other than what I'm actually bringing back, that I can process my grief in a city just as well as on an island paradise. So anyway, I would really ask you, like, what is it, what reason or what purpose do you feel like you had in returning? Yes, that feels right. Great perspective. Okay, awesome. Yeah, because like again, the ecosystems that we are in very much so impact us. However, like true mastery is being able to summon a presence, like to summon the, and this is going to sound wild, but it's like to summon the um, feeling of having quenched thirst, even though you haven't had a drink of water in multiple days, to calm yourself down so that you can get through the next phase. Because again, a lot of these terrors that we experience as human beings are prolonged by pushing off the terror. I don't want to experience that now. It's not the right time. Well, when is the right time? Because this is when it's happening. And so one of the most beautiful things about humanity is how adaptable we are. And so if you can train adaptability, then ultimately you can survive in any situation. And it's adaptability for the sake of like, because there's like, oh, when things are bad, like to be adaptable in that situation. But how about when things are so good and you have no idea how to handle how good things are? I've been running into that one a lot, and it's freaking weird. Being comfortable at the top where you are before you move to the next phase is powerful. Yeah, like settling into your stance, reveling in a victory, but then of course recognizing that there's going to be another one. Not rushing into it, not trying to avoid it. And we're always going to be moving to, like, it's like with balancing, I'm on a ball. There's no point where I'm going to reach to where I don't have to be engaged anymore. But why would I ever, like, what part of me doesn't want to be engaged with life? Right? Like everyone's trying to like figure out how to get rich, myself included. We're all trying to figure out how to get rich so that we don't have to work anymore. Right? Just be honest with yourself. I want to make enough money that I don't have to work anymore. Why? Why? How like you see these stories very rarely because they don't get publicized a lot, but you see these stories about like, oh, I made Minecraft and sold it for billions of dollars and now I'm fucking depressed and I'm having unalive myself thoughts. You guys see that? You guys see that? I see that. I see these people who achieve what everybody else wants to achieve, and then what's on the other end of it? A shit situation. So anyway, the move was initially catalyzed by my 13-year-old son who had a desire to experience this side. Ah, yeah. So the child brought you back into the matrix. Very interesting. Very interesting. And I'm sure, especially as well as, it's like, are you a mother? Yeah, mother. So like the motherly instinct of like wanting to be like, dude, we were like out in Maui, like we had reached it. It's just kind of like, and I think being a parent is one of the closest experiences that us human beings get to in terms of like being God, because it's like you can't control that child. Like you can take care of them, you're gonna take care of them because they're your flesh and your bone, but you can't control them, right? It's different than animals because it's like animals. Speaking of animals, my boy Michael Ridge is in here. If you guys aren't following this guy, Michael Ridge, by the way, he's like one of my favorite people on the planet just because of what he's doing. I can't even say it. He's just like traveling around on horseback in the country, spreading wild native seeds. He's a very cool person. You guys definitely should follow him. I don't know if that makes him cringe or not, but I really do have so much love for him. Say being a parent is unhinged in the most beautiful way, right? Because it's like you gotta adapt, and then you get used to something, and then it's like, oh, you gotta adapt again. And you know, man, thank God, like sex feels good. Because if sex did not feel good, so many people would not have children. Species would have died out a long time ago. Anyway, So I think there's near future, 3 to 5 years, will require us to have tolerance because life is changing quick, becoming more and more unprecedented. That's why I believe sensory design is the teaching the world needs and is ready for now. Ogana, I could not agree more with you. And again, like I do this so much because the more and more I do this, the more people I align with that are of the similar thinking, that are of this idea, and they're starting to see. Like a lot of us are starting to get burnt out on like the Aubrey Marcuses and the Cheyenne Blakes and the not to like demonize those human beings, but it's like if someone puts like the God helmet on me, I'm the first one to take it off. I'm like, "Oh, thank you. I'm just your brother. I'm not your teacher. I'm just your brother. I will definitely teach you some things, but that doesn't make me your teacher. I want to be a student. I want to learn from you as much as I can." And again, like I said, I've gotten so many emails, so many people into that no marketing that are like, "Marco, you should be bigger." And I'm like, I don't really give a like I just want to like have enough food for my family and be able to pay rent and all this stuff. If anything else it transpires out of that, like wealth starts to accumulate, I'm going to be the first one to start giving it away and creating programs and doing things to just like help people. Cuz like I don't know what I would do with millions and millions of dollars. I mean, I know what I would do. I would find ways to give it away, but I recognize that the pinnacle of life is not to have all of those resources. And especially being in the cross of rulership, the pinnacle of life and having all those resources, like if you look at Gate 45, which is part of the cross of rulership, it's literally about delegating resources. It's literally about gathering resources so that they can be given to other people who can actually make use of them. And it's the same thing as like hoarding food. Like if you hoard food, it spoils and then no one gets to use it. So anyway, make me a millionaire because I'll make the world rich, or at least do my damn best. And I genuinely think a lot of people that are really wealthy, which is funny because Bill Gates is actually doing something that I feel like a lot of people are going to be upset about because it sort of goes against the narrative that a lot of people in the sort of conscious community share, which is that Bill Gates is a bad guy and he's trying to vaccinate our children. He's like looking to get rid of his wealth, and he publicized the plan to disseminate his wealth. And so I think at the heart, we say like eat the rich, eat the billionaires. I've never been in that camp. People are just doing the best that they can to rule over an increasing population that, you know, ultimately our connection with God and nature, we've severed ourselves from it. Because it's like at a certain level, when you get to an interplanetary species, but you're such a like parasitic species in terms of your activities, like how do we fucking deal with that? I don't have the answers. I don't envy anybody in power. So I'm just like trying to carve out my little niche of paradise while simultaneously empowering other people to carve out their little niche of happiness and paradise because the world is big enough, and the more of us that are like treating the land right and treating her right, the more of us can actually benefit. And it's one of the greatest things that I've learned about the land, especially is like living in Maui, is that like the things that we see as abuse, like even just like you know, violence, like physical violence. If you're violent towards the land, you till up the land, like that makes her fertile. So again, same thing that's happening in the body. There's these opposing forces. If you drag your jaw to the right, your neck is going to go to the left. Like there's all these balancing forces that as much as we are talking about like we're destabilizing the world, if we really recognize it, like the world is going to stabilize itself. And maybe we're a part of that. Again, just contemplations. I don't know. I'm just some guy on the internet talking. Yep, can really see the forking of the species of humanity that's gone, that the Gene Keys talks about here. Spirituality is fractalizing into three major groups: the talkers, the embodiers. Is it talkers, thinkers, and embodiers? What's the third? People living in their heads versus people living in um, integrity and wholeness. Yeah, and this one thing too is like they talk about the world fractalizing into 3D and 5D, which is one of the heavy terms. And I see a lot of people that are totally talkers in the 5D community. Like these are the types of people that preach oneness, but then when they're asked to be held accountable to something, they're like just not, they're not there for it. They can't stay in the heat and the pressure when it's their turn to be in the hot seat. I've watched that happen so many times, and because of that, I'm constantly asking my friends like, "Hey, put me in the hot seat. Is there anything that you can do to improve me?" And I've been able to accomplish this multiple times over and avoid a lot of pitfalls in myself, because I will preemptively seek harmony before harmony is like seeking me. I will seek out balance when I feel balanced in ways, because I can anticipate when there's going to be a disbalance. And that also might just be my design. I don't know. Rebalancing, like chaos, is not destruction for its own sake. It's purification through disobedience to false order. Disobedience to false order. Dude, that is a freaking, I love that. That needs to be a t-shirt. That's like disobedience to the false order, which is order that is appears divine but is actually man-made, which is really funny because, like, for instance, I've spent a lot of time reading about what human beings have done. There are so many times when human beings will come in to, like, quote unquote save an ecosystem and just make it infinitely worse. Like, you see it a lot on Hawaii. It's like there's a lot of like reforestation projects on Hawaii that just have further fucked up the ecosystem. And it's because typically there's not necessarily an actual study of the ecosystem. It's a survey, or it's a you hire scientists and people to make it so that you can plant all these trees so you can use all this wood, but in actuality it's like if you did a real study it would take a lot longer. False authority, false order, disobedience to false order. I'm gonna make that a shirt right now. The gatekeepers. I don't know what context we were talking about in there, but definitely. Oh, I have keys. Sorry, my partner's texted me, guys. Excuse me, guys. I'm gonna go take a pee pee break and also drop these keys off for my partner. If you guys are enjoying this live, and you want to help the channel out, me out, the archive, the mission, etc., please like the live, share the live. If you're not already following, make sure you follow. But definitely, if you can share the live, that is going to help a lot. I'll be right back. Sarah, thanks for sharing. Much love to you guys. I'm going to do something over here on TikTok, guys. Don't panic. I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. Hello, hello. Something really crazy my partner just taught me, my business partner, Pasha, was if you put your fingers right here on the back of your neck and you just like push into it so you can feel the muscles, and you start tracking your eyes left and right, eventually you're able to start feeling the muscles on the back of your head that help to control your eyes. And this is one of these like opposing forces that work together. So muscles on your eyes and the muscles on the back of your head, where your skull becomes your neck, work together. I do that to get rid of headaches. Of course you do. Because it's like one of the reasons why a lot of people have headaches is just because the pressure is slightly off in their brain or on their skull or on their neck. And so I'm going to do something over here, which is really exciting. I wanted to do like a little memorial sale for the archive. And so we're going to let's do half off for your first month in the archive. It's normally $37, but it's going to be half off for your first month today. So I got to make that coupon real quick. Memory. So this is only going to be today. You're going to get 50% off. I'm literally making it happen right now. And it ends on the 26th. So it's memory in all caps, which is kind of cool. Just making sure I set this up right. So yeah, so if you want to join the archive and you want half off the archive, this is your chance. MEMORY, all caps, will get you half off your first month in the archive. Only good for today and exclusive for this live. So I remember the first time I was able to heal a headache without the pain of medication. I jumped up and down in the bed screaming. I did it as if Jesus was right. It's not a false story. Yeah, again, some of the ways that we will repressurize as children are so brilliant, like standing on your head or holding your breath, inflating your cheeks, trying to see how long you can hold your breath. Like there's things that we do as children that as adults we label as kind of like insane or dumb. And yeah, it's just very important that we not do that because a lot of our instincts are so on point. Where y'all going? Where y'all going? Okay. Hi, V.
Daddy got a shirt.
Yeah, Dad's got a shirt. Dad was live talking to a bunch of people online.
Come on this way.
But you're going on an adventure, so
This way.
you have fun. I'll see you later, okay?
Come on. Let's go. Coming. Oh, this way. Here. Daddy.
Pardon me, y'all. Come here, BB.
Daddy.
Come here, Chichi.
Daddy.
Yeah. All right, I'm back. Sorry, guys. Children know how to be in their bodies big time. My daughter has no hesitation about just like jumping in here. Yeah, that was my little girl, Aurora Venus, and my pregnant partner, Emerald. There's this big hill up here, which is really fun because it's a pretty steep hill. We get to walk up the hill. Anyway, warm water on my neck always does the trick. Again, yeah, there's so the greater scope of the archive again is to like really get us to the place where we trust ourselves again, where we can trust our bodies, where we can trust the intuition that's coming through our bodies. And they're through some of the most simple exercises that I have ever experienced. And I've done a lot of them in my life, but I've never done them with the intention or the intensity that I have because of the archive. And now that I have, it's like even things like crossing your eyes. It's like an actual exercise because I would never really cross my eyes because I was told like, oh, don't cross your eyes, that's not good for you. And also it's super disorienting, but it also is like, oh well, what happens if I just like relax through the disorientation, because life sometimes is very disorienting. And if I can be with disorientation as a general subject by way of crossing my eyes in preparation for life being disorienting at times, life isn't as disorienting. And then going from a converged eye position to a focused position and working on getting my eye. It's like a workout for your eyes. Like we never work out our eyes. And oftentimes, actually, we're overworking our eyes because we're focused on our phones. So much so that like we're so focused, we never actually give our eyes an opportunity to be in the peripheral state or the relaxed state. And then the centered is just kind of like in between the two, or the convergence is just in kind of in between the two. And Anita, that was awesome having you here. Rest culture. For me, chaos is ordered through self-care. The outcome of that is rest culture. It's like rest culture is the antagonizing force to work culture, but ultimately, it's like rest and work culture, like being able to do both. So my son does that all the time. He can refocus on command. It doesn't affect school, so I let him be. Yeah, again, it's like again, children are doing so many cool things, and we're just like trying to socialize them to be more like us. When in actuality, like a lot of us, by us, I mean just like general, like we're heavily conditioned by the world that we're in. And so this is why I love this concept that like children are teachers, not necessarily because they're here to teach us things, but because we can learn so much from them just by like not trying to change who they are. So crossing the eyes plus erecting my spine is really relaxing to me. I feel centered in my body and aura instantly. That's what true center is. Like it's so funny because I used to work on a lot of like men's retreats, and I would say things like, "All right, brothers, get centered." And what I would see so often is I would see guys do this. They would like melt into themselves. And so, it's very yoga to like be soft and relax and breathe all the tension out of your body, but that's not centered. Like that's actually centered. That's a place that we can actually move from. And if you move from center, same thing with the arms. It's like you have to figure out where like the midline of your arm is in order to be able to do things without hurting yourself. And I used to like do things not from a place of center, and I could still get it done. Like I could still throw far, swing the lightsaber, it looked cool. But once I started learning how to like actually like where is center, and not because someone was like, oh, there it is, but actually feel it. Because a lot of the times when you're, especially when you start doing this is why sometimes it is helpful to have an objective pair of eyes to tell you, oh yeah, that's centered, that's not centered. So a lot of times what happens is we normalize not being centered. This is an exaggeration, but for some people, this is center for them. And so if you have someone like Pasha or myself to say like, that's not actually centered. Let's get you over here and let's train you over here. So that way, between where you think center is and where we've been training, you actually learn to rest at center. This is how, like, my partner Pasha is like fixing people's scoliosis, or he's not fixing it, but he's giving them the power to fix their own scoliosis and the power to walk again after being told by their doctors that they're not going to walk again. So let's see. Apologies for interrupting the subject. Don't you feel like joining your partner and daughter on that walk or hike will be fine? Layla, that's so sweet. I 100%. I was thinking that, and that's why I actually like hollered at them because I was like, hey, maybe I should join with them. But I have a lot of work that I personally want to get into so that I can be with them later. Otherwise, I'm going to be thinking about it. So, Layla, I appreciate that so much. That decision was not so much about you guys. I know you guys will be fine. It was more so along the lines of like, I'm really inspired. I woke up really inspired this morning and I did a lot of things that I wanted to do, have been wanting to do. And so I just want to stay on thread with that. But Layla, thank you so much. That is really sweet of you. Um, yeah, like I want to take sensory design later. I want to take class later. And then I have a bunch of stuff that I want to do prior to that as well. And I still have another half hour here that I want to spend with you guys. And so, yeah, appreciate that. But, you know, and this is the beauty of like, you know, when I was earlier in my years, when I first got into business, I got into business through a network marketing company, which is objectively one of the like most cringy industries, and has some of the worst people in it, but it also objectively has some of the best people in it. And the way that I could tell the difference between like a really good network marketer or a good human being just in general and a really bad one was whether or not they fostered followers or leaders. Like I watched the really good ones bring other people up, elevate other leaders, and then I watched the quote unquote bad ones or the cringy ones. I watched them just like gather followers. And so that's something that, you know, I feel like I love that. And, you know, no apologies for that at all. Just be like, Marco, are you sure you don't want to do this? Because like sometimes I will get caught in that sort of less than desirable mode of like treating you guys like followers rather than what you really are, which is leaders. You guys are leaders in your own communities, in your own lives, in your own world, and to a degree, you know, leading me to things that I might not have explored or seen without having the humility to be like, oh, yeah. Now there's definitely a time and a place to establish a leader or establish leadership because this person has the most appropriate skills, which brings us into this current transit. Like this current transit is gate 16, which I need to look what the harmonizing gate is. I don't know it offhand. But gate 16 is all about skills. It's like what skills are necessary. It's very logical in cutting with how you say these skills, and also it's like, you know, which skills deserve to be improved. And that's what this theme of this next week are, is like you're going to have the greater ability to express your skills. It's a good time to improve your skills or your hobbies, whatever it is. But like the heart of it is enriching life through the application of your expression, right? It's the enthusiasm for expression of skills and capabilities. You can never get enough skills, always refining, always practicing, always experimenting. Music, dance, art, speaking are common expressions of this energy. Without the complementary gate 48, the expression of this energy may be varied, shallowed, unenthusiastic. Coupled with gate 48, there is a strong spark. I'm reading this out of Neutrino Design, by the way, which if you guys want to get that, that's always 20% off via the link in the bio. But we have skills in the sun, and we have focus, gate 9, in the earth, which is like you might be more overwhelmed or distracted by details. Good time to add a nice touch to your product, your appearance, your vlogs, and so on. You might find more people being more overwhelmed by details rather than seeing the whole picture, which, you know, we'll see. We'll see. I always think of it this way. It's like the sun energy is like rain, falling neutrinos. The earth energy is like the cup that they fall in that you can collect in. So we're using focus to fill our cup up with skills, or to discover what skills are necessary or worth building. And this is a great one for me because I have the gate 48, which I think, Paulina, you might have mentioned that as well. I have gate 48. And so right now, I have this channel active. I have that channel of the wavelength designed for talent. So the ability to like bring intuitive expression in the form of logic from the spleen center to the throat. It's like the ability to know what is worth developing and what skills are appropriate. Allison, that's your only channel. Awesome. I always am curious, not necessarily envious, but definitely curious of like what it's like to actually have a channel. Because as much as people tell me about what it's like to have an actual channel, I I don't know, and I'm not going to pretend to know because I'm a reflector. So I know what it's like to have a channel temporarily. It's channels in my opinion are like pretty freaking not I won't say exhausting, but can be very exhausting. And I'm really grateful for the variety that I get to experience in my own life with my design. So bridging gates. Yeah, and this is another way that I really love to explore and learn about human design is just through the transits, and especially because I'm a reflector. Like I'm very often watching other people, and because most of them, like my friends, I know their body graphs, so I know like okay, and I really tend to focus on the by hats. I really tend to focus on the sun and the earth, and then sometimes the nodes and the moon. Not that the other ones don't matter. It's just like sun and the earth are the most powerful ones. So anyway, this is a strange one for me to have it as it relates to the rest of my Zion. Hard to see it at play a lot. Yeah. Also, too, it's like in this instance, the transit is creating technically a compromise. What is that like for you, Allison? Does that play into it? Because if there's a hanging 16 in the transit, do you feel like there's not enough depth or not enough intuition in your system? Like, does the gate 16 empower that 16 in you so much that it creates an imbalance within the 48? Which, of course, none of this is to be taken as like human design advice. This is just humans relating and having something worth talking about. So I have a hanging 48. I got that hanging 48 as well. Can I just say you're a beautiful man? Keep up the healing. Yes, you can. Thank you very much. Hmm. So I felt this coming. I started a new crochet project last night and I'm almost done already. Yes. So I have 55 and 9 in the sun and 59 and 16 in the earth. Just visualizing what that. Okay. Very good. Very good. One of the things I love about human design, right, is like no matter how much I learn about human design, there's always so much more to learn. And always as well what I'm doing, like for instance, I've already been thinking about it. Like gate 16 is in the throat. So where physically is it in the throat? Have you guys thought about that? SCM, I like massaging my SCM joint quite a bit. I would say my talent is learning how to be human. Ooh, that's such a meta talent. I think one of the things that I love about sensory design is that it helps people learn how to be human. In the fact that it's like, in sensory design, we work on specific gates. We work on, or not gates, most of the time we work on specific centers as a whole. But as we do more of this, we're going to start to actually discover, like, oh, yeah, gate 16 is right there for me. Well, how do you know? Well, normally this part is really soft, but now it's really hard with stuff like that. And again, it's not necessarily a science in that sense, but it is very much so an observation of the body. Is there something in my chart that will be able to show chronic constipation, having trouble digesting? It would give us like part of the picture, but the rest of the picture we'd have to like actually have a conversation about it. Um, for instance, like what I'm talking about is that we could see your chart, and if you're operating on basis of your chart, you're probably not going to be constipated. You're not going to be holding on to things. Um, Maybe it's some kind of conditioning in your sacral or your root or something like that. But just right off rip, like what would constipation be? Constipation could be like a hanging 60, like holding on to your limitations or not knowing when to accept or release or move on from your limitations. Possibly. Again, we could fit a lot of things to that, but one of my specialties as a reflector is being able to actually discern your conditioning and show you where the conditioning is inhibiting you based off of your chart. And then you have a nice little, it's not like hey, this is where to dig. It's like maybe in this area you might want to dig there, and then we can just add physical exercises. So that was a great live session, brother. Thank you for all they do. So fired up to keep practicing and learning with you and Pasha. Let's go. Yeah, we have class today as well in 10, 11, 12, like 2.5 hours. And then also, again, for anyone that is interested in joining the archive, for today only, use the memory code or use the coupon code MEMORY, and you can get half off of your first month. So it goes from 37 to 13, 23, 17 to less than 37. Shows you how good I am at math. My 48 is in Pluto 2, conscious and unconscious. Aha. Me too, Pauline. We must have been born around the same time, just before you. Yeah, Pluto is one of those planets that just stays in a gate for a long time, which is really cool to see how that is and how that affects us subtly, because we get 70% of our programming from the sun and the earth, which means that the rest of the programming, the other 30%, is shared by all of the other planets, which, again, subtleties doesn't mean they don't have equal value. It just means that they're going to be um, less expressed. So they're just more subtle. Which is really, really sweet. And again, the sweetest part is like, okay, so, and it's funny, 9 actually might be a constipation gate. It's so funny to say that. Just because everything dealing with the root is dealing with pressure. Although 9 is not in the root. 9 is in the sacral, but it's pointing towards the root. We have gate 53. Oh, no, we don't. I'm looking at a composite over here. Chill out, Marco. That's not what you think it is. Yeah, we don't. We have gate 41. Was that gate 39? No, we have gate 41. Where is gate 41? In Pluto. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Hi, can I join? I'd love to ask for some stuff. Ask away, my friend. Ask away. Which Ange, let me know if I'm hitting anything. Because in terms of constipation, it's like it's holding on to things. Which I will say as well, something that's really good for constipation is thoracic rotation. So you take your hands, push them together, use this force, like feel this force coming together, and then feel how that converging your shoulder blades in on each other, bringing your shoulder blades like, can allow you to increase the pressure. Like you're pushing here in your hands, and then your shoulders are also pushing together. And then what you do is you breathe into it. So like the shoulder blades coming together, then you breathe your spine back through them. So then you can push them away from each other. Push the hands together, shoulder blades come together. Inhale the spine through your shoulder blades like you're threading the eye of a needle. And then what you do is you pinch the ground, like if you're standing on top of a giant pimple and you're trying to pop it, pinch the ground, and then rotate just the chest. So don't let the hips rotate with you. Pinch the ground, pinch your hands, pinch your shoulder blades. Inhale your spine through your shoulder blades, and then do this rotation. That always helps me poop. So I've been releasing a lot of energy through meltdowns, triggered unfair treatment. Yep, bring it through, my friend. Another really cool thing to do in addition to that exercise is there's this uh, new branch of medicine. I don't know if it's new. It's called German New Medicine or New German New Medicine. GERMAN space NU space medicine. It's got a really terrible website, but if you look up constipation on there, there's a lot of like, it's very similar to like the body keeps score, so it'll kind of tell you a little bit more about what you're hanging on to when it comes to stomach stuff, which I think a lot of stomach stuff is territory or like rectum being tight or like feeling like other people are on your territory and you're not able to say something or something like that. Okay, now that I feel my mind is changing to peace, but I want the things I wanted. So I've been releasing a lot of emotional energy through meltdowns triggered by unfair treatment. Now I feel that my mind is changing to peace, but I still want the things I wanted. I feel like there's more to that, which I'll definitely wait for. Say, how do you think about a channel with one gate in the nodes? Because they say you only experience your nodes in your environment. I haven't come across that. I mean, they say a lot of things. I don't really know um, who that is. But one thing I know about the nodes is like it's very much so like a trajectory. Like your south node is where you're coming from, your north node is where you're going to. And so, in terms of your environment, because the nodes isn't like a point in the sky, it's like a whole, in a way, it's like a section of the sky. It's not like it's not like a planet or a star or anything, but it's an orientation. And so, yeah, I don't know. How do you think about a channel with one gate in the nodes? I mean, I know I don't have any because I don't have any channels. Karina, hi. Froggy, hi. So I know I'm healing, but I still feel I'm resisting to being well because of the things I want to. Okay, so again, if you're like feeling any resistance, returns and receive in terms of justice. Okay, it doesn't mean that you're not healing, my friend. Like, so basically, what I'm gathering from you is you're saying that like you want justice, you want retribution, you want the other person to like feel the pain maybe that they've caused you, and because of that, you're curious as if that is going to impede your healing process. Is that right? Let me know if I'm gathering that right. Like I want this person to be brought to justice, but is that me being not spiritual or is that like hurting my spiritual journey? Is that right? Am I reading that right? There's a book called Feelings Buried Alive Never Die that has a great reference to tools in the back. Okay, sweet. Love it. Where would dehydration be on the Venn diagram with constipation? One of the things about dehydration that's really interesting is like you could drink a lot of water, but you could still be dehydrated. In that being your tissues and your fascia, if they are calcified or if they're hardened or tonic, or even if they're flaccid, like they're not going to absorb water. And so one of the best ways to actually hydrate yourself is to like those thoracic rotations, even just doing like squeezing in different parts of your body or creating friction. Like you have to create room for your body to absorb water. But are you feeling dehydrated, Steve? Dehydrated and constipated. What a combination. Got you. Okay, so regarding the that like wanting justice, it's a great question. It's not impeding your spiritual journey. It's definitely like a part of your spiritual journey because like one thing that I learned early on is like forgive the other person. Just fully forgive them, not because they deserve forgiveness, but because you deserve peace. It also gets to like you start to ask yourself that question of like if justice is not brought to this person, are they going to continue to hurt people? But life tends to work itself out, and the one area that you do not have control over is other people's life and how justice or how their karma finds them. And so one of the things that I would say is if you are still feeling anger towards this person, I would generalize the justice. Like if you think this person deserves to be choked out, get a pillow and choke them out. Get a pillow and scream into it, or dig a hole and scream into it. The reason being is, the reason I say this is because according to like psychosomatics and the way that the body holds trauma, is if you have things that you want to say to this person or things that you want to do to this person, it's better for you to get it out. It's actually not about the other person receiving justice. It's about you purging that energy from your body. So for instance, a lot of people will how do you say this, prematurely go to peace before they move through a lot of the anger, because peace is more spiritual than anger in the new age. um, However, the expression of anger might be the thing that actually leads you to true peace. So it sounds like there's definitely some grief work in your stomach where you need to soften, but then there's also probably some like heat in your hands that you need to, or heat in your throat that you need to like vent and disperse off. Excuse me. Grief is funny. Today is my husband's birthday. He left the skin suit in 2022. My whole body hurts. Oh, blessings up for, if you want to put his name in here, I'll say his name and send some prayers. So, in case it's helpful, Gene Key 4 is the city for forgiveness, gift of understanding, and the shadow of intolerance. Oh, thanks for that, Allison. That's a good one. Um, that makes a lot of sense, actually. Thanks. Yeah, you're welcome. And again, like, healing doesn't have to look a certain way. That's why I made a video called Healing is Weird, because healing doesn't look a certain way. And in fact, a lot of the ways that it looks, like burning sage and doing all that stuff, that's not the actual process of becoming. That's usually like cleaning up or preparing for the process. Healing is usually like rage or sadness or things like that. Marty Hitchcock. Thanks for sharing, Mystic Lad. Hmm. Yeah, real beautiful energy in this live this morning. Yeah. Leaving, I love how you put that, leaving the skin suit. It's funny because humor is one of those things that can be used to cover up grief, and it also sometimes is a signal that the grief has been processed and in a very healthy way is being accessed without necessarily impeding your presence or doing any of that. You said skin suit. When someone croaks, it's like, yes, they're leaving us in this lifetime or in this form, but now they're becoming something greater. And I like to think of, it's like, for me, because I've lost some people in my life, and in the same way that as a parent I'm preparing the way for my daughter, it's kind of like when I go in the next life, whatever comes next, I'm going to prepare a way for all the people that I care about that are still here. And so, and I know that, there's a lot of connection happening now more than ever, just across timelines and countries and seas and stuff like that. And so it's like I got a lot of uncles and aunties that are up there helping prepare a way for me when it's time, and for you as well. Hmm. So, okay, even then wants to receive justice feels a bit contrary to healing. Yeah, but that's because, like, spiritual narcissists tell you that you have to forgive and not feel anger because they'll hurt people, and then other people will want them to feel the impact, and they'll say you need to be peaceful. This isn't very spiritual. Like, most of New Age um, normalism now is built on the words and the actions of narcissists, in the sense that it's like these are people, and when I say narcissist, I'm basically saying someone who doesn't want to take accountability for their actions, somebody that thinks they are pre-forgiven or pre-divined because they're connected to God in such a powerful way. And it's those are the people, again, that are seeking power. Look, I'm not seeking power. It's one of the reasons why I don't have a lot of influence and power, is because I'm not the kind of person that seeks it. And so, yeah, wanting justice to be done and carrying rage in your body because you feel like that's not spiritual is it's again, it's one of the ways that people get entangled into this sort of like fluffy new age kind of spiritualism that is just a deeper layer of the wounding. And so, yeah, no, I don't think wanting justice. I still have this desire in myself for, the acts weren't done towards me, but I still want this person to receive justice. However, I've recognized that I'm not going to be the one to deliver that justice. And in a way, me stepping away from them is the most justice that I can give because they are in some way benefiting from me continuing to entangle with them. Like, I would love to see your body graph. I've never seen a no gate graph. Defined gates, though. Yeah, I have defined gates like everyone else, but I don't have any defined channels. So in the craft, we say to heal, you must learn to hex, basically defending yourself as a form of healing. I'm curious what your take on this. Yeah, I mean, it's like, it because for me it's like in a lot of the way like the term hex is has got like some like bad energy on it, but it's literally like sending energy out of your body and away and towards something else. And so a lot of the, again, if you were mistreated or misused, again, there's energy inside you that somebody else sort of like put in there, and also you opened yourself up to it. And so it's a multi-phase healing in the sense that you have to like open yourself up again to release what was put inside you, but then you also have to be discerning and learning who to open up to in the future. Um, you should write a book. I've definitely been told that a lot. I eventually I will. We'll see how it is. I don't like fluffy spiritualism. Life isn't fluffy, so how can my spirit be fluffy? Yeah, I know, man. It's really interesting. It's like, well, and also too, it's like a lot of people want to make life fluffy because there are people who are so beaten and broken that they're just looking for a point of reprieve, and they unfortunately find homes in the people who are, again, seeking power or seeking influence, who have, access to resources that can create quote unquote safe spaces. Like, you guys here, you've heard me say it a lot. This is not a safe space. I'm gonna tell you how it is, because I don't want safety in my space to be created out of this sort of like, you guys trust me to be infallible. The safety is in you guys me saying, Marco, hey, is that really how you feel about that? Or that didn't really land right with me, and us being like, you guys feeling safe in strength in yourself to be able to bring, if your internal authority and my internal authority are clashing, I want that to come to the surface. So anyway, Gene Key 60, city is the city of justice. Hmm. Which I know 60 to be limitation and acceptance, which is because there's this new feature in neutrino design that I really like, where we can see the I Ching, which is lake under the fire above the lake. Gate 60. Hmm. Hmm. So I could use reprieve from my traumas, but fluffy seems fake. I'd like to live in a world of peace and love. Right, and it's like, for those of us that are actually willing to demand that realness, honesty, integrity feels like safety. If you have the ability to sense it, again, a lot of people, they feel safety when other people say you're safe, but it doesn't, they can't act, they don't have anything inside them that says yes, I'm safe. Because there's times when it's like, someone will tell you this is a safe space, but inside you're like, no, it doesn't actually feel safe. And so what are you supposed to do then? And serious question, not necessarily saying that that it's like, just because someone tells you it's safe, that actually means it's not safe. But someone shouldn't really need to have to tell you it's safe. You should feel safe in their presence. This is how I say. Integrity is super important. A lot of folks don't have integrity. Yeah, because integrity is created out of the ability to withstand pressure and heat and accusations. And because like the reality is, in terms of narcissism, a lot of narcissists and spiritual leaders get a lot of projection. people putting, you know, oh, their abuser on this person. They're putting their father on this person. And so rightfully so, they're in a way they have to defend themselves to a degree. But it's like if a kid is gonna come up and punch me, and this is how I see projections. If like a kid is coming up to punch me, I'm not gonna knock the kid out. I'm gonna let him punch me. Why? Because his punches don't hurt. Like if you have projections that you're putting on me, they're not gonna hurt. That's why sometimes I get haters. I don't know if anyone has ever like seen how I handle haters, but I'm just like sometimes it interrupts the live, in which case I have to like get them out. But I'm like, oh yeah, cool. I don't know what fucking gluon is. I'm not a scientist. Oh, that means I know nothing about spirituality. Oh, guess I know nothing. What are you doing here still? So anyway, it's funny. Kitty Bliss, is there no sound? Oh yeah, cool. Oh, there's definitely sound. Carla, what's up? Welcome. The back of my mouth is ale. I'm just working on the back of my mouth now, just in case you say that. Yeah, discernment is so key. Archangel Michael carries the true sword of truth and light, and I am very partial to carrying one of my own. Discernment is key. Which straight up, this is one of the ways that you can, um, again, spot narcissism. Is like, does this person have other leaders around him, or is he the strongest person in the room? Because if you have one person that's like the strongest person in the room, and he's got a bunch of like followers around him, like that's not like a group of leaders or people that you could envision standing up to him. One of the points of discernment that I have, like I intentionally keep people around me that can physically beat me up, that can mentally beat me up, that can emotionally beat me up, that can beat me up with experience, like elders and stuff like that. Like I intentionally surround myself with those people because I don't want to get caught in a situation where it's like I'm the coolest, smartest, strongest, most emotionally intelligent person in the room, knows the most about human design in the room. Like there's people in this live, like Allison, I think, probably knows more about gene keys and human design than I do. Maybe. Again, it's not. I don't place value um, necessarily so much in knowledge, especially since developing a lot of the physical capacities that I've developed. And it's not so that I can beat someone up. It's so that I can get beat up without turning on them. And this is something that I learned through martial arts. And the only place I think you can really learn this is martial arts or in combat or violence, is the ability to get hit in the head, get punched in the face, and still remain calm. Like I have a threshold of like I can get hit quite a few times before I get angry. And the way that I developed that threshold was like being in fights. Not necessarily like we were actually fighting, but like being in training situations or sparring situations. Because it's like without fail, anytime I would lose my cool or anytime I would lose my calm, that was like the quickest way to lose the fight. So the back of my mouth is always dry, even when drinking water. I've been noticing the awareness with my headaches, tightness in my calves, and changing with how much water I intake. Oh, Steve, have you been in the new season 5 that we've been doing in the archive? We got one going on today, as I'm sure you know. Um, but while we're doing a lot of that stuff, like the eye exercises, one thing that I would recommend is trying to get like basically, this is the roof of your mouth and this is the tip of your tongue, getting this to happen. And specifically getting this to like push. Again, it's like if you're feeling dehydrated in an area, it's not that we necessarily want to saturate it with water so much as we want to squeeze the water out and allow it to saturate itself. Allison says, I know nothing. You know quite a few things about gene keys. You're probably like my mom does this a lot, Allison. She's like a brilliant healer, and I'll be like laying. This was years ago because I haven't seen her in a minute, or this hasn't happened in a minute. But she's a brilliant healer. But anytime like I notify her of how brilliant she is, all the healing stops. Like I'll have a headache, I'll lay my head down, and she'll put her hands on me and just start stroking my head, and my headache will just alleviate. And then I'll start to feel like bliss, like good vibes coming from my mom's hands. And I can feel this because I spent a lot of time feeling this and becoming very sensitive to it. And I'll be like, oh wow, mom, you fixed my headache. She goes, what? And instantly all of the blissful energy that I was feeling stops. And so, and I feel like there are a lot. Again, it's the same thing. It's like the Sorcerer's Stone. It's like a Harry Potter Sorcerer's Stone effect. In the end of Harry Potter, spoilers alerts for anyone that hasn't seen Harry Potter, but if you haven't, check it out. It's a good story. There's a scene where Harry Potter is standing in front of a mirror, And Voldemort is like, give me the stone. I see myself holding the stone. I see myself as the most powerful person, wizard in the world, etc. All my dreams are coming true. Harry Potter sees himself with the Sorcerer's Stone, not so that he can use it, but so that he can prevent Voldemort from using it, and he therefore gets it. And so this is like where, a lot of people who have like healing genius and powers oftentimes are the ones that don't want to use it because they don't want to like become evil, or they don't want to use it for the wrong reasons or abuse the power. And so, relatable. Also, I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. Yeah. So, there's a difference between humility and modesty. And it does, I don't actually know which word is which. I think they're kind of the same things, but there's a difference between like being humble, like respectfully humble, which I try to be, I do my best to be, and subtly putting yourself down, like saying I know nothing. And I know some we all know nothing, dude. We all know nothing. We all some people know some things. So you know some things. I don't claim to be a master in anything, but I do know some things. So Marty was a bare knuckle boxer and would keep calm while fighting until he was done. Rage equals win. Yeah, that's awesome. Marty sounds like a badass. I'm sure his spirit is as well. I was teasing, but I do know what you mean. Yeah, that's just, again, it's like, again, if you want to be the coolest person in the room, if you want to be the top dog, I don't know, just something about that doesn't like really sit right with me. Because why would you want to be in an environment where you can't learn anything from anyone? And not that you can't in reality, but that you are in a hierarchy where you're at the top and you're never in hierarchies where there's other people that are above you in some ways. Again, just the thoughts of a 32-year-old. I'm 32. Lord. If you would be an animal, which animal would you be? Wonders. What a great question. At this time in my life, I feel like I'd be a dog. Like a good boy. A good boy. Good dog. Cause lately, especially being a dad, I feel like a dog. Like when my daughter calls, I answer. When my partner calls, I answer. And I really enjoy it. I really enjoy um, the obedience to the actual order or the actual loving beings that are in my life. How does one get unstuck dealing with sacral and throat blockages, especially with Pluto? Neptune 7-7. So I got some things that you're probably not going to expect. But basically what you want to do, if you want to start to unblock your throat, one of the first things that you have to start doing is learning how to swallow while maintaining pressure in your face. So what I mean by that is puff your cheeks out, turn your head all the way to the left. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's one of the first things that you got to learn how to do. Basically figure out which orientation is the most challenging for you or impossible for you. And like for instance, if it's impossible for you to do that like this, or you lose the pressure, you could do chipmunk cheeks or this. But if this is impossible for you, go here and then work your way. Now, while you're doing that, every time you inhale, smell, and every time you smell, pull your butthole up. Those are some of the first things that I would do for you. And again, if you have some kind of blockages already in there, or there's certain areas where it's hard, or it's like you can't focus on the smelling and the thing, one of the things that I will probably predict is going to happen is you're like, okay, great, but then what do I do next? And it's like, I'm already feeling better. Awesome. Right. So you just keep doing that. Because it's like, here's the thing. Like, if there's not a problem, don't fix it. And a lot of people think they have blockages, which, not to project on you, my friend, but you may not have blockages. More than likely, you just have parts of your neck and your sacral that you're not using. And the digastrix, this up here, and your pelvic floor, which is really where, like, again, sex organs and stuff down here, they're like polarized forces with each other. And so another thing you can do is, as you're doing the pushing pressure into your cheeks and your face and down here, you can just do that same thing. It's like a reverse Kegel exercise. Instead of smelling your butthole up, you're pushing down. Another really cool thing you can do is, let's see if I can do this. If you can get your knees, I'm on a ball, by the way. Take your fist, put it between your knees, and squeeze your fist in between your knees. That's really hard. Squeeze your fist in between your knees, because if these are your femurs, like if this is your knee and your legs are going down, this is your femurs, your thighs. If you have something in here to bite on, look at this. You see what's happening? My elbows, this, your hips would be right here. And if you're squeezing here, you're able to expand it. And then, of course, you can take your hands, put them on the outside of your knees, drive your knees outward, and see if you can't get your pelvis to shrink. Like, get your pelvis to breathe. Get your throat diaphragm to breathe. And we have a 30% off, or sorry, a 50% off coupon for the archive, which, let me do some math real quick. 50% off 37. That is $13. I want to say like $12, $13, around there. Between $12 and $13, you can get access to the archive for your first month for 50% off. You use the memory code. You use the coupon code MEMORY, MEMORY. And this is in honor of Memorial Day. MEMORY, all caps. We'll take the archive from $37 to like $13 for your first month, and then it goes back up to $37. But for anyone that wants to get more into that kind of stuff, that's the place to do it. Basically, what we're doing is we're showing you the workouts that are missing from human design. So the archive it's like an ongoing program. So there's no end date. It's going to exist in perpetuity. But like, effectively, if you wanted to see some like real radical change, I would say commit to 3 months in the archive. 3 months. And then after those 3 months, if you're like, I'm good and I don't want to do this anymore, no worries. But after 3 months, if you're actually dedicated to it and you get the change, like, there's no reason for you to leave. Not only will your money be up, but just the transformation and the connection that you'll have in the archive. Like, the retention rates in the archive, actually just objectively looking at it, are insane. They're actually insane. It's because, again, this isn't a place where you go to be taught something. It's a place where you go to learn, and specifically, you learn how to learn. You learn how your body absorbs information, processes it in the physical body, and then it makes this so much less confusing and mystical, and just it's like then this becomes like an actual physical map of, it's like, oh, you have an undefined sacral. Well, no wonder this exercise is so challenging for you. Or you're not putting enough effort into this exercise because you have an undefined sacral. And that's, for me, a lot of my life, I just didn't put enough effort into certain things in my own body, in my own training, that this made me aware of. Like, that was one thing that human design helped me to see in myself, was like, oh, Marco, you don't put much energy into yourself. Yeah, because I have undefined centers and there's so many other people that I can put energy into. Okay, cool. What happens when you put a lot of effort into yourself? Oh my freaking God. I get lit. It's applied human design versus conceptual. Exactly, Allison. So anyway, that's what we endeavor to do. And this isn't something that it is revolutionary, but it's not something that we are like creating. Like, we called it sensory design. We have to make it purchasable and available and all that stuff. There's a brand behind it. This is the shirt and the logo. But it's like, we're not discovering any of this. It's not like we're creating anything new. We're not creating anything original or anything new. We're looking at what already exists, the human body, somatic healing, human design, biomechanics, the senses. Like, we're just using what God gave us, what the universe gave us, and we're just using it better than everybody else, because we're not really looking for anything. We're not looking to create something new or try and like bullshit you guys into some, oh, this is a brand new fucking way to use human design. Nah, it's just a more effective way to use human design. Because both of us, Pasha and myself, have been around so many um, intellectuals and spiritualists, and we just like, we look at their body, we look at the way they move, we looked at the way that they handle conflict, and we're just like, brah, that's not it. And we've done that in so many different areas with so many different leaders, and we're like, okay, so what happens if you and me just go in and do something for ourselves? What does that look like? And so far, it looks great. It's memory, Memory, and I will make a what you call it. I will make a post about it as well. So I would love to join, but maybe my English is not super great to understand everything well. No, you'll get it. You'll get it, Pauline. You'll get it. Um, the reason I say you'll get it is because there are, even though like there will be the English barrier, language barrier, again, your body isn't going to speak in English or your native tongue. It's going to speak in pressure, right? Squeezing or expanding and stretching, or it's going to speak in hot and cold. And so for instance, if I say do this and then add pressure like in you're inflating a balloon. I also will say that Pasha is really good at how you say demonstrating and giving verbal cues. So how long will the sale be on? I don't get paid until tomorrow. Oh, for you I will extend the sale. I'll extend the sale for you. So it was going to end tomorrow, but now it's going to end on the 28th, Wednesday. Is Wednesday enough time? Hopefully by Wednesday we can get you in there. I'll send you a DM. Perfect. Yeah, so I just extended the sale. Memory, because this, like, so much of what we're doing is about accessing dormant memories that your body is holding on to, that all that. So easy for me to get mystical, meanwhile undefined sacral projector and disconnected from the body. Yeah. Guilty. I love how you say that. Are you guilt motivation as well? I'm guilt motivation. So it's like if I catch myself doing something wrong, I get really motivated to make it right. And if I have nothing that I'm doing wrong, I look at things that I could be doing better. Projective guilt. Like if I don't do this, I will feel guilty. If I don't show up with this, I will feel guilty. And that's kind of part of the reason I show up to live, is because I feel guilty. Because there's people who are literally like online right now, and you might be one of those people. You're looking for like someone that looks pretty spiritual or has a good way of talking. And, again, half, if not more than half of the people that are online talking about spirituality or being influencers, they're trying to sell you something that you don't need. And I'm selling you something, but you do need it. It's your lungs and your heart. You need your lungs and your heart to work perfectly. You need your throat and your pelvic floor to be talking. You need your fingers and your ribs to be doing things together. So I'm selling you something that you actually genuinely 100% need if you actually want to be like a sovereign spiritual being. If you want to be like look spiritual and have everyone think that you're spiritual, again, you can go to the other ones. But I know that I will feel guilty if I don't get online every day and share this message with people. Just because also how well it's worked for me in being able to give me the type of eyes to see, like I can see charlatans now. I can see when an aura is disguising itself as something else. I can feel when someone is seeking to create an invitation, but they're actually just barking orders. So, and I want everyone else to have this as well, because I can't Batman everybody. Like I need you to be Batman in your own life, because I'm already tapped when it comes to being Batman in my own life, and so this is one of the ways that we can do that. So I call them spiritual snakes. Yeah, snakes in the grass, snake oil salesman. Like sometimes I have haters come into my lives and they're like trying to pull me down. And I'm like, dude, you can't pull me down because I'm not above you, first of all. Second of all, like, maybe just shut the fuck up and actually listen to what I have to say before you start accusing me of things. Because if you actually listen to what I have to say, like, I use the spiritual lingo as a means to, like, my whole thing is about connecting it down to, like, layman's terms or the common tongue or common language. Because, again, the reality is, it's like, there's a lot of spiritual things that are going to be sold to you that are put in front of your face that seem shiny, that are going to try and like answer your problems. But literally, when it comes to medicine ceremony, yoga retreats, breath work, all of that stuff involves your physical body and involves states of high intensity pressure and heat. And in the archive, we teach you how to tolerate high pressure, high heat, high intensity situations. And we'll show you where it is in the body graph. We show you where it is in your body, and we help you to train that from wherever. If you're a beginner, you've never done any kind of exercise or workouts, to you've done all of the fitness programs that you can think of, regardless of where you are. This is something that is very nuanced in the sense that it's like, again, this, you're working with parts of your body that you actually have, and that if you want to actually be healthy, you have to get these things right within yourself. And you don't need expensive equipment. You don't need, you just need your bodies and a willingness to work. So your guilt motivation equals integrity, and I can feel your devotion to it. Thank you, Allison. I appreciate you. Pauline is hope. Okay. Yeah. You'll I hope it'll work out in terms of the English and the language barrier. Worst case scenario is you're like, "Oh, it doesn't work out." And then in which case my guilt motivation will be like, "All right, who speaks this girl's language? We need to like do some translations and stuff like that." Just adapting on the fly, which we have a class happening in 2 hours. I have some work to get done, so I'm going to start to like wind this live down. But this has been absolutely awesome. But for those of you that just joined the archive, I saw 2 or 3 of you come through. Welcome. If for whatever reason you don't get an email with a link to access the website and the portal, just message me. But also check your spam, or check maybe some of your other emails, because sometimes it's like you'll get a receipt to the email that is linked to the account that you paid for with, but then the welcome email gets sent somewhere else, whatever email you put in. So if any case, in any of those situations, send an email to support@reikimarco.com. I'll help you get sorted. My father was a snake oil salesman for the real shysters, so I have snake radar. Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And that's, again, it's like, a lot of people that have those actual eyes to see, or they have the eyes to see because they've been burned by someone who sells that snake oil, that spiritual snake oil, that Palo Santo crystal snake oil. Which, again, not to say that sage and Palo Santo and all that stuff isn't like legit as fuck. Like, sage is antimicrobial, but it's antimicrobial, not like anti bad vibes. The native people used it to disinfect their wings, not because it clears the energy, but because it literally disinfects the severed wings, which are crawling with bacteria and stuff. So again, it's like when you get to the practicalities of it, like a lot of the spiritual stuff is still spiritual, but not for the reasons that people think. It's spiritual because it's practical. And so practical, applicable human design, as opposed to spiritual human design. Great. Great. Lol, how about Palo Santo? I don't know too much about the Palo Santo in terms of practical effects. Best part about it is we could look it up. I would imagine it's similar, like has antibacterial and antimicrobial effects, benefits. But if you look up benefits of Palo Santo, cleansing, purifying spaces, spiritual healing. Now I'm gonna look up physical properties. So it's believed to have anti-inflammatory and analgesic and analgesic. I'm not the smartest person in the world. How is it used medically? Repels mosquitoes, reduces pain, improves the stress response. Antibacterial. Yeah, I figured. Again, a lot of the smudging is literally just to like disinfect stuff. And again, if you look at it without the spiritual lens, like that is plenty. Like that's plenty. That's plenty to go off of. Because if you have a new crystal, like you know, you get a new crystal from the shop. I'm a fan of crystals, by the way. I think they're beautiful. But it's the message that they send and the vibration that they help me hold. Not I'm not like relying on this thing to like bring me crystal clear clarity. Although when I look through it, I get to see all the fractals and distortions and stuff like that. One of my favorite things. That's why I love clear crystals, is because you can look through them. You guys, if you want to look through them, check that out. What do you think about that? See, it's pretty. Anyway, man, this has been a good live. Happy I stuck around. And I got to get some work done, some other work done. So you guys have been freaking awesome. If you're not following me already, please follow, because I'd love to see you guys again. I go live Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 9 a.m. Hawaii Standard Time. I also sometimes will just go surprise lives. But please feel free. The more you guys interact and ask me questions, I'm a reflector, so the more I can give back to you, and I have plenty of energy to give back to those people who are willing to put this to practical use. Invitation one more time to join the archive. The archive is normally a $37 membership, but you can get your first month for, I think it was like $18.50 is what I saw, so $18 US dollars. If you live in a third world country, or you live in a country where the you know currency exchange is like really high, message me, either DMs or ideally support@reikimarco.com. Support@reikimarco.com. It's on my website as well. I have codes to help you guys out that are in countries where the currency exchange is ridiculous. What else? My reports are also on sale. They're normally $35. They're now $20. I meant to talk about that more, but I didn't. My sessions are also on sale as well. Both of those things are about, I want to say, like 30% off. So all my stuff is 30% off. The archive is 50% off for your first month, which is where I really would love for you to come check it out, because it's the most cost effective for the value that you get. Not that my sessions aren't bomb and fire, but you can get access to me as long as you're cool with like the text. But I will totally, in the best way ever, just like shatter your entire world with your body graph, and do it in a good way if you do want to do a session with me. So anyway, much love to you guys. I will see you on Wednesday. Is the next live, and all the links for everything are in my bio. Wait, we are. Lol. Are you saying where are you at? Where are you at? I'm in Maui. I do all my lives my sessions virtually. Is that what I'm waiting? What do you guys say? That's so funny. Was that your question? Where are you at? Not the U.S. What? No, I am in the U.S. I'm on Hawaii. Hawaii is part of the U.S. Although technically that's a whole another live. Hawaii. So yeah. So funny. Just like wait, no, no. Okay, cool. I knew it was different. Yeah, I'm on Hawaii. I'm on the island of Maui. I'm on the North Shore. But I'm in the jungle. I'm straight up in the jungle. So anyway, all right. Not that I care about like sign offs and dismounts, but much love for you guys. Okay, I'll see you Wednesday. Peace. Oh, that was too funny. All right, guys. I will see the rest of you. So my archive peeps in here, and my YouTube, and my one person on Twitch. I will see you guys later. Much love to you. Peace.